the schus of our learning, Shem Beis Hamikdash, and should be a panacea and Refuah Shlema. Yechiel Nasim Ben Sarah. Also, Moshe Drew and his Rebbetzin, Refuah Shlema. We're holding right after the Mishnah on Nun Hey. So we had this interesting Mishnah, how they divided up the 24 families of Kayanim, divided up the 70 bulls, the 70 parim. Well, it's much more than 70. 70 was just 70 parim. But then you also had the other sacrifices there. So we concluded the Mishnah that anyone that got from the parim today did not get it tomorrow, but they would get it the next day. Just about everyone. So it gets divided like this. Look, if you have 24 families and you have 70 parim, 70 bulls, so 22 of them will be able to get a turn for the bulls 3 times. 22, 44, 66. The last 2 will get a chance to do the bulls twice. That would be 70. But they won't get the 3rd time. So everyone gets 3 turns, except for 2 families that only get 2 turns. Then the Mishnah concluded, and it said, you know what? When it comes to the 8th day, Chazru L'Payas Kibur Golem, they start a new lottery. Now, what the Gemara understands right now is Neima Masnisin Rebbe Hi B'lei Rabbanan. Our Mishnah must be the opinion of Rebbe and not the Rabbanan. The Tanya was taught in the Brayso. So let's see. Paraba B'Shmini B'Tchilim Efaysim Alav Rebbe. Notice this is how it works with the kids when they divide their cookies and cakes and things. There's always a history there. But yesterday you got, and they remember everything and no one else knows what's the cheshbainas. So Rebbe says when it comes the Shmini Atzeres, and there's 1 bull left. Well, there's 2 families there that really missed out on the 3rd time. Ideally, one of those should get them. The Gemara says no. Well, according to Rebbe, you start over. Everyone gets a fair chance. You have 24 people in the lottery now. It's not just the lottery between the last 2. The Chacham say no. Chacham say that it's one of the last 2 that didn't get a 3rd round. So our Mishnah said, Chazru L'Payas, they go back to make the lottery, Kibur like a regular holiday. Sounds like it's the opinion of Rebbe when everything starts over. The Gemara says it's not necessarily so. It really could be that it's the Rabbanan that's discussing this. Well, so then why did it say Chazru L'Payas Kibur Galam? It says Atushte Mishmaris Le'Apusei Bai. The last 2 Mishmaris, last 2 watches, don't have to make a lottery. Chazru L'Payas just means that you make a lottery. That it's not already allocated. But you still have to make a lottery. And you have to make a lottery between those 2, which is fine. Okay, so we don't have a proof that the Mishnah is specifically the opinion of Rebbe, because it could be the Rabbanan, and the whole lottery that we just mentioned is possibly just between 2 families, right? 23 and 24.
It just occurred to me, this is the same issue that the Gemara discusses when it comes to the appointment of the 70 elders, because there are 12 tribes. 6 times 12 is 72. So all got 6. And the original son had to except for 2, and they only got 5. It's interesting. It doesn't. There was a different solution there. As soon as it's the same number, 70.
Right. So when when someone was being replaced in the Sanhedrin, did they have to make sure which tribe he was from, or was that just the original Sanhedrin? I think that was only the original. After that, the students in the row would
only
move up.
the original. Yeah.
Okay. Kaman Osla Hadatanya, according to whom does the following brisa follow? Does Kala Mishmar Shenis and Mishal Shleis, Chutz Mishnei Mishmar Shenis and Mishal Shleis. Name a Rebbe V'lei Rabbanon. You have a brisa here. The brisa says all of the 24 watches got 2 rounds by the parim of the bull. In the 3rd round. Except for 2 that only got the 2nd. Now, the Gemara says that must be Rebbe. Because according to the Rabbanan, who made the lottery on Shmini Atzeres? It was the last 2. Which means that it's not 2 that only got, it's not 2 that didn't get the 3rd round. It's only 1 that didn't get the 3rd round, according to the Rabbanan. Because it was clearly one of those got it. You only had one of, those 2 options. According to Rebbe, it could have been 2 that didn't get it. Right? Because everyone else went back in. The Gemara says, "Afilu Tamer Rabbanan." It really could be the Rabbanan this price. So why does it say that 2 families didn't get the 3rd round? Ma'ilei Shilsha. What does it mean they didn't get the 3rd round? The Pari Achag. On the first 70. We're not discussing Shmini Atzeres. Easy answer. My Kamash Malan. So what is the Chiddush here? It says Kamash Malan Mishikr Paramayim LaYakar V'Machar LaChayzim Chalila. You know what the Bryce is telling me? What the Mishnah says, that if you got an opportunity to offer one of the bulls, one of the 70 bulls today, you couldn't do it tomorrow because they wouldn't let you. Because there was another 14 or something that didn't get a chance. So they wanted to do it today, tomorrow, and then so then you only had a chance on the 3rd day. Okay. Amar Rabbi Lazar. Rabbi Lazar says, Rabbi Lazar is Rabbi Lazar ben Padas. He's a student and a friend of Rabbi Yochanan. And he comes in and he gives us some Agadata often. He gives us some explanation or some background. He says, Hani Shivim Parim Keneged me. Who are these 70 bulls corresponding to? It says Keneged Shivim Umais. They're corresponding to the 70 nations. And he goes on, he says, Payachidi Lama. So what about the single bull that's brought on Shmini Atzeres? It says Keneged Uma Yechida, that's corresponding to the single nation, the Jewish people. Mashal HaMelech Basar V'Dam. It's a parable to a king of flesh and blood. Shamalav Adavasili Sudagdeli tells the servants, make for me a great meal. Liyay Machran, the last day, Yamalaya Vayasili Sudaktanak Deshanemimcha. The last day tells his friend, let's make a small meal so that I can enjoy you. Amar Rabbi Yochanan says, woe to the idolaters that they've lost and they don't even know what they've lost. You hear this? It's unbelievable. The Mizbeach is atoning for the nations. It's actually an atonement, like going to the Yamim Neiraim, an atonement. The nations also have an atonement on Sukkot. There's an animal that's brought for them. What is it atoning? I don't know. It sounds like it's atoning for Avodah Zarah. But they get this atonement. Right? They could bring sacrifices, I think, even on a bama. I think they're allowed to. But it's not an atonement. A bama is like private altars.
That's precedent. Gets an atonement for this.
In the base of English. So, but the atonement is only in the base of English. Right? Okay. The Mishnah says, "B'shleisha prakim b'shana hiyakol mishmar Shabbos." 3 times a year, all the groups of Kayanim were equal. Talking about the 24 families of Kayanim. Beimurei haragolim. They were equal with the limbs of the holiday sacrifices. Ubechilek lechem apanim, and with dividing the lechem apanim. The lechem apanim is the showbread. There were 12 loaves. It would get divided equally amongst everyone that was there. You see, what's happening is that there really is one family that's supposed to be working that week of the holiday. And that family actually gets all of the sacrifices that are not holiday relevant. The tamid, the regular sacrifice all belong to that family. But any sacrifice that comes in that's a holiday sacrifice, then all the other groups of kayanim that are there, they divide those equally. And then we say also with the lechem apanim. The lechem apanim is not really a holiday. It's there anyway. It's there because of Shabbos, the showbread. But then, nevertheless, that gets divided equally, which is interesting.
So all the animals that were mentioned in the previous Mishnah,
Those are all holiday.
those are all holiday.
Yeah.
The two Elim and the calves.
Yeah.
And the seer.
The musaf, the musafim, and all of that is holiday. Now, Ba'atzeres, when it comes to Shavuos, Omer loy helach matzah helach chametz. On Shavuos, there's regular lechem apanim. Now, the lechem apanim says lechem, but it's actually matzah. It's not chametz. But on Shavuos, there was also the shtei halechem, the two loaves of bread that came with the two sheep. So that was chametz. So when they would hand them their portions, they would say, "Helach matzah, here's your matzah, and helach chametz." The matzah is referring to the lechem apanim, and helach chametz, and here's your shtei halechem, your piece. So they're walking around, chametz in one hand, matzah in the other hand. Yeah, the wives would go crazy. Ay, there's chametz. Okay. The idea is that they would get the matzah first, which is interesting. The Gemara will discuss that soon. Okay, mishmash is mani kavua, who makriv tmidim nedarim nedavis v'shar kabanis tzibur, who makriv esakol. The family that had the actual allocated time, that family that was supposed to be that week, they had all of the regular sacrifices and the donations that were coming in and the communal sacrifices that were there and everything else. We'll see what that's referring to. Okay. Even on the holiday, there was a family that had all of that. Okay. The Gemara says, Imuri haragolim shel gvayin in it. Usually the term emurim are referring to the parts that go on the altar. Now it's saying that the imuri haragolim were divided. Amar Rav Chisda, it's not emure as in limbs. Emure is mashe amur b'regalim. What is mentioned about the regalim? Okay. You hear? It's a different word. Emure is not the fats. Emure is what's mentioned. Tana Rabbanan, start in a brisa. Minayin shekala mishmar shabbos b'emure regalim. How do you know? How do you know that all of the watches, the 24 watches, 24 groups of Kayanim are equal when it comes to it says in the pasuk, this it says in the pasuk that when a lady comes to serve, it means a Kayan. If a Kayan will come to the base of English, he can bring any of the sacrifices that he wants. He wants to bring his own sacrifice. He doesn't have to give it to the Kayan. He can come and bring it. The pasuk is being learned, though, that when he comes on the holidays, he shares equally with all his brothers, even if it wasn't his turn. Maybe even the rest of the year, he can just show up and share equally. He says, "Hey, I'm here. Put me in." It's Talmud Laimar. The pasuk says, "Me'achad sharecha," from one of your gates. The lady comes from one of your gates. This is only said when everyone enters into the same gate. It means everyone comes to the base of Mikdash. That's when any Kayan can come and divide equally. B'chilak lechem apanim, and when it comes to dividing the showbread. Tana Rabbanan, in the Brisa, Minayin shekalam mishmar shavas b'chilak lechem apanim. How do you know that everyone gets the showbread equally? It's not a holiday. It's not a holiday bread. It was there every week. It wasn't specific for the holiday. So Talmud Leimar, the pasuk says, "Chelak kechelak yechelu." As portion for a portion, they eat. Kechelak avoda kachelak achila. Just like they serve, that's how they eat. Umay achila. What is the eating? Ilema karbanas. If you're talking about that they're eating the sacrifices, the kayanim that are coming. Mehasan nafka. That we know already. It says la kayana makarvaisa leisia. The one that offers the sacrifice is the one that gets to eat it. Ela lechem apanim. It's rather referring to that the way they serve, that's how they eat. Now it turns out that there is no avodah by the lechem apanim. The showbread, there is no service. It's just sitting there since last week, right? It was on the table for a whole week. So there's no service. So it really is what it's telling us is that there's just vision of eating.
How many loaves were there?
12.
So each have here.
It was kind of tiny. Yeah. They were full. Yachalaf. Maybe this also comes with obligatory offerings that come not because of the holiday that everyone gets support. Holiday. Talmud Leimar, so the pasuk says, "Levad min karev alav." Besides for what the fathers have sold. What did each other? It says, he said like that. You see, when was this division made? I think in the days of the prophets, I think. They decided that they're going to divide up the families of Kainim into 24 groups. And then they said like this. They said that take your week. That's sale, purchase. Each one purchased his time by giving the other one, I won't bother you during your week. You'll be able to take everything during your week, and I'll be able to take everything during. Besides for what was sold by the fathers, that division that took place. So, what was sold? What do they get for that? That's any of. On Shavuos, there's two types of bread that are coming. There's the matzah bread, because of the lechem apanim, the show bread, which is matzah, it's not chametz. And then there's the shtei alechem, which is chametz, the two special loaves that are brought from the first wheat grain that's brought on Shavuos. The Itmar was stated by Amirayim, Machlikas Rav and Rabba Bar Bar Chana. Going back to Sukkah. Rav Amar Sukkah v'achakachzman. When you go into the Sukkah, and you have to say the bracha of Leishid Basukah, and you also have to say a Shachianu. So which one do you say first? So Rav says that you say Asher Kedushanim v'mitzvos v'tzivanu Leishid Basukah, and then you say Shachianu afterwards. I think that's how we do it on the first night. Rabba Bar Bar Chana Amar Zman v'achakach Sukkah. Rabba Bar Bar Chana says first you say Shachianu, and then you say Leishiv Basukah. Which is, I think that's how we would do it on the other nights. The only thing is we don't say Shachianu on the other night. We only say Shachianu the first night, right? Oh no, is that the ladies don't say? Do the ladies say Shachianu on the second night of? We do say Shachianu. So this would be how we do it on the second night. We do say Shachianu, right? We do say Shachianu. It's only Shvi Shal Pesach that we don't say. Yeah. So this is how we would do it. By the way, Rav and Rabba Bar Bar Chana are related. Their first cousin once removed. Rav's uncle was Chana. Yeah. Rav's father was Evu. His brother was Chana and Reb Chia. And Rabba Bar Chana would be his first cousin. Rabba Bar Bar Chana would be his first cousin once removed. So they're discussing over here what do you say first, Leishe Basukah or Shechianu? So Rab says, Rab Amar Sukkah V'achakach Zman. Rab says first you say Leishe Basukah and then you say Shechianu. Chiyuv D'yayim Adif. Rab says the day is much more significant. Let's try that. Just a second. See, is that any better, Zalman? You hear me?
Yeah. Yeah, I hear you. It's just, I think when you turn away, it seems like you can't hear as much.
Okay. Okay, I'm sorry. I don't have my my headpiece with
You know your mind. Okay.
you know I was going to need it. So Rob says that the obligation of the day is more significant than the Shechianu. The day is Leishe Basukah. So you say that first. Rabbi Barbachana Merzman V'achakach Sukkah. Rabbi Barbachana says that first you say Shechianu and then you say Sukkah. Why? Tada v'shein tada, tada kaidem. What's more common? Shechianu is more common than Sukkah, than Leishe Basukah. Shechianu you can say all year, new fruits, anything, new clothing. But the Sukkah, you only have that time. You only have over Sukkahs. And the truth is that it's possible that they only say one bracha on the Sukkah anyway. You enter the Sukkah, say Leishe Basukah, and then you never leave. You have to say another bracha. Okay. We had a discussion before, even if you leave, if you have to say in the bracha and all of that. It was an interesting discussion. Okay, Lema Rav, Rabba Barbachana, the Beishamai, Beisil Kamifugay. This is very, very similar to another machlekes between Beishamai and Beisil. The Tana Rabbana was taught in the Brisa, Dvarim Shebein Beishamai and Beisil Besuda. The following is a machlekes between Beishamai and Beisil at meals. Beishamai Yemrim Mevarach Alayim Vachkach Mevarach Alayim. Beisil Mevarach Alayim Vachkach Mevarach Alayim. It's an interesting thing. Whenever you say Kiddush, you always say Baruch Atah Hashem Elokeinu Melech Haolam Bari Pri Hagafen first, and then afterwards you say Baruch Atah Hashem Elokeinu Melech Haolam Asher Kedeshanu V'Mitzvayis V'Tzavanu Asher B'Charbanu Mikolam, whatever you say, and it finishes with Mekadesh HaShabbos or Mekadesh Yisrael V'Azman. So the holiday prayer, the Kiddush Hayom, comes second, and the Bari Pri Hagafen is first. Mekadesh Alayayin. First you say Mevarech Alayayin. First you say the bracha on the wine, and then afterwards you say the bracha on the day. And we do the same for Havdalah. We say Bari Pri Hagafen before we say the Havdalah bracha. That's the opinion of Beis Hillel. That's our opinion. That's what we do. Beishamai says no. Beishamai says that first you say the bracha on the day. Right before you drink, you say Bari Pri Hagafen. Now it goes back to explain the machlek. Beishamai Emrim Mevarach Alayim V'achkach Mevarach Alayayin. Beishamai says first you say the bracha on the day, which is Mekadesh HaShabbos, and then you say Bari Pri Hagafen before you drink. Why? Shahayoyin Geirim Liyayin Shiyava Ukvar Kiddush Hayoyin V'Adayin Yayin Leba. It becomes the holiday, and then you have an obligation to make Kiddush. So what came first? The holiday. And if it wasn't a holiday, you wouldn't be drinking wine before a meal. I don't know yet. but normally wine would be during the meal. Yeah. They drink during the meal. And then afterward, if they want to drink extra, they would continue drinking wine. But before the meal, they wouldn't really drink wine, unless it's a Kiddush. Kiddush, you say first. So Beishamai's opinion is that what's causing there to be wine right now is only because of the holiday. So say the holiday blessing first. That's how all of this started, which is Mekadesh HaShabbos. And then say Bari Pri Hagafen. Beis Hillel says Mevarach Alayayin V'achkach Mevarach Alayim. It's the opposite. Shahayayin Geirim L'Kiddushes Shetei Yomer. If I didn't have wine, I wouldn't be saying Kiddush. I said Shemon Esrei, you know, I said Mekadesh Shabbos.
You've already Makadesh the day in words
Right,
before you get to this point.
right. So it's the only reason why I'm doing this now is because I have wine, and there's a special institution of saying Kiddush Alayayin. But this blessing that I'm saying is only because of my wine. So it's the wine here that's causing the Kiddush. So Beis Hillel says you should say the bracha on the wine before. That's the cause of all of it. And besides, another thing is we have a rule that whatever's more frequent comes first. And wine is more frequent than Kiddush. So we can drink wine during the week. People would drink wine in every meal, probably, or off. Actually, it wasn't in every meal, but it was. But they would drink wine often. So it's definitely more common than the holiday. So the wine should be first. Okay. So we have a machlekes Beis Shammai and Beis Hillel about what comes first, the Kiddush or the wine. Now, what we're going to do now is we're going to say that the bracha on the wine is going to match up with the shehechianu, and the bracha of the Kiddush is going to match up with the leishe basukah. Now, just like Beis Hillel says that you say first the bracha on the wine, and then you say the Kiddush, and then Mekadesh Shabbos. So too, when it comes to the shechianu, that would fit perfectly with Rava Bar Bar Chana, that first you say the Zman, the Shechianu, and that which is the regular blessing, and then you would say the special holiday blessing, which is the Leisha Basukah. And Beis Shammai, which says first you say the holiday blessing and then you say the Bar Priagafen, would fit with Rav, where Rav says that first you say Leisha Basukah, and afterwards you say the Shechianu. Gemara says Lema Rav Damar Beis Shammai, Rav Bar Bar Chana Damar Beis Hillel. It matches up, or it seems to match up. Gemara says, Amalach Rav would respond, I don't have to follow Beis Shammai. I could follow Beis Hillel, and Beis Hillel would agree with me. But it doesn't seem like that. It says like this, Ad kan like Amr Beis Hillel Hasam. Why did Beis Hillel over there say that first you say the blessing on the wine? Ela shahayayin garim lekidusha shatiyamar. The truth is that really you should say the more common one. But over there, the wine, well, say different. Really, we should say the holiday one first, not the more common one. The only thing is, over there, the wine is what caused the Kiddush. Aval hacha. But here, ilav zman, milay amrin and sukkah. The shechianu doesn't cause the leishe basukah. Yeah. Rav's opinion is that really the chayvas hayom should come first. The day should come first. So why by Kiddush don't we do that? Why do we say the wine first? Because the wine is causing the Kiddush. But over here, the leishe basukah, the leishe basukah comes first. But the zman, the shechinu doesn't cause the leishe basukah. So because that's not part of its cause, so then I just say the chayvas hayom, which is the leishe basukah, the day, the leishe basukah. I say that first. That's Rav's opinion. Now, Rabbi Bar Bar Chana is going to do the opposite. Rabbi Bar Bar Chana is going to say, I can even fit with Beis Shammai. Rabbi Bar Bar Chana malachana damri afilu Beis Shammai. I could really go with Beis Shammai. In other words, not that he wants to follow Beis Shammai, but he's just saying that don't mix me into that machlokes, because Beis Shammai would agree with me also. I could fit with Beis Shammai, my opinion that I hold about Shechianu and Leisha Basukah. That Ad kan layamer Beis Shammai hasam. Why did Beis Shammai over there say that first you say the Kiddush Hayom and then you say the Bar Priagafen? Ela shayom garim liyayin shiyavai. that the whole reason why you're saying the Hagafen is only because it's Kiddush. Is only because it's the holiday. So you have to say Kiddush first, because that's what's causing the wine. Aval Hacha, but over here, Ilav Sukkah, Milay Amrin and Zman. Let's say someone didn't have a Sukkah. You would still say Shachianu, because it's the holiday. So,
He's traveling.
right,
He's
so
from
it's,
Sukkot.
let's say it's traveling, right? So but we would still say Shachianu. So the Sukkah doesn't cause the Shachianu. It's not like over there where the Kiddush causes the wine. The holiday causes the wine. No, over here it's not the Sukkah. It's the holiday, but it's not the Sukkah. It's not the Leishev Basukah that's causing the Shachianu. Okay, Tanan. We went in the Mishnah. Our Mishnah. Ba'atzeres on Shavuos. Amalei Helach Matzah Helach Chametz. We tell the Kayan that's getting the lechem upon him and the shtei alechem on Shavuos. This is Atzeres. We say, here's the matzah, here is the chametz. Now the matzah corresponds to the regular food. That would be like the corresponding to the wine, or corresponding to the shachianu. And the chametz corresponds to the special holiday food, because it's the shtei alechem, special Shavuos. Now, v'hacha, the chametz iker, u'matzah tafel. Chametz is the real thing, because that's the holiday. And the matzah was just every week you have the matzah. Uktani, but nevertheless we said, helach matzah v'helach chametz. It looks like we're doing what's more frequent first. Who would that fit with? Rabbi Bar Chana, that says that first you say shachianu, and then you say leisha basukah. So it says tiyuf to the Rav, it's a kashan Rav, because we're saying here is your matzah, before we're saying here is your chametz. And according to Rav, the chametz should be first. Rav should have the leishev. Rav says you do the leishev basukah first. Now we're in Shavuos, but there should be the special Shavuos spread should be before the lechem apanim. Amalach Rav would respond to you tonight. Don't worry about that Mishnah. That looks like it disagrees with me, because it turns out that there's actually a machlokes, and I follow the other opinion. The Tanya was started in the Brisa, Helach Matzah Helach Chametz. The Brisa says that here's your matzah, here's your chametz. Abba Shalom or Helach Chametz, Helach Matzah. Abba Shal says the other way, Helach Chametz, here's your chametz, which is the Shtei Alechem, and Helach Matzah. Okay, good. Darash Rav Nachman Bar Rav Chisda. Oh wow. I wonder if that's edited somewhere. You have a new Gemara? I've never seen Rav Nachman Bar Rav Chisda. I've never seen it. Doesn't mean it doesn't exist. It's the first. Okay. Darash Rav Nachman Bar Rav Chisda. Loi. Do you have a star by you? Let me look at that. No, that's what it is. What it is. Okay. Like divrei Rav, the Amar Sukka v'achkachsman, elazman v'achkach Sukka. Really, what you're supposed to say is shachianu and then leisha b'Sukkah. Rav Sheshes Breder Rabidi Amar Sukka v'achkachsman. Rav Sheshes Breder Rabidi says no. First you say leisha b'Sukkah, and then you say shachianu. The hilchos says Sukka v'achkachsman, and the halacha is leisha b'Sukkah, and then shachianu, which is not the way we do it on the first night. But that is the opinion of, I'm sorry, that is the way we do it on the first night of Sukkot. That is exactly the way we do it on the first night. First we say the leisha b'Sukkah, and then the shachianu. That's the opinion of Rav, and that's what it says the halacha is here. Okay, Mishmash is Manik Kavua V'Sharkabanis Tzibur. The group, the family of Kayanim that had its set time that week of the holiday, they would get all the sacrifices of that week besides for the holiday sacrifices. And then it says, and everything else. Lasu Yemai. What is that everything else? What are the karbanas tziva? What are the other community sacrifices? before we get to everything else. This community sacrifice that they get. It says, "Lasi parham davar shel tzibur v'stir avodas kechav." Very interesting. Let's say it just turned out that week that the Sanhedrin had paskened wrong, and they brought it the week of the holiday. They brought the sacrifice the week of the holiday because all the congregation had also violated it based on the incorrect verdict of the Sanhedrin. So you'd bring the sacrifice that week. So who would get to eat it? There's 24 families there, and then there's the regular family that was supposed to be there. So it says the family that was supposed to be there that week, they get it because this is not a holiday. And the same as if they happen to have worshipped idols, and then that sacrifice would go to the family that was that week, not divided amongst the 24. But who makar and that family offers everything. What is the everything? What's it coming to include? Let's see, if this would be odd, but if the Mizbeach happened to be empty during the holiday, they weren't bringing sacrifices. I don't know where everyone was. Big Cholamayid concert. They went at the Beis Hamikdash. So the Kayanim wouldn't want the Mizbeach to be empty, so they would take from the special fund of anyone that lost their sacrifice, and they had to wait to look at a mum and put the money in, or it's called Keitz Mizbeach. They would, just to keep the Mizbeach occupied, they would have other sacrifices that were being brought. So who would offer those sacrifices? The family that was there. No, it's not the 24, because it wasn't specifically a holiday. To the last Mishnah of the Perek in the Masechta. It says like this: Yom Tov Asamach LaShabbos. Let's say Yom Tov leads right into Shabbos, or the opposite: Shabbos leads right into Yom Tov. Bein milfanei bein la'achra. So hayukalam mishmar Shabbos b'chiluk lechem apanim. Now, even though it wasn't, this Shabbos was not on the holiday itself. The Shabbos was right before or right after the holiday. But because in order to get there for the holiday, you had to come Friday, which means you had to be there for Shabbos. So I have all these Kainim there that are there for the holiday, and there's a Shabbos in the middle, in between, before the holiday starts, or right when the holiday ends. They have to stay there till afterwards. So they divide the lechem upon him, even though it's not on the holiday. Because all the kainim divide the sequel. But let's say the holiday ended on a Thursday, or the holiday ends on a Thursday, or the holiday doesn't start until Monday. You don't have to come Friday. You can come on Sunday. So mishmash is manakvui and less chalas. So I know there's going to be some families that are coming early, and there's going to be some families that are staying over until Tuesday. They're staying over Shabbos rather till Sunday because it ended on a Thursday. So if you're staying extra, you only get 2 of those loaves. Those 2 loaves were allocated to the families that were staying, and 10 were going to the regular to the group that was coming in and going out. How would it work on a regular Shabbos? You see, the family switched on Shabbos. They were there the whole Shabbos, both families, but they switched. In other words, the family that was there in the morning, the families that were there, the family that was there the whole previous week would leave after the morning sacrifices, after the Tamid, and there were some things that were done in the morning. And then the Tamid Shel Bein Arbayim, that was already done by the new family. Rabbi Yehuda Imer, Hanichnas Neitel Sheva v'Yetzi Neitel Chamish. Rabbi Yehuda says the one that's coming in, the new family, gets 7, and the leaving family gets 5. Hanichnasim Cholkim Batzafin v'Yetzim B'Darim. The new family divides it on the north, which is more significant, and the family that's leaving, Kayan family that's on its way out, they divided their bread on the south, which is less significant. So there would be clearly which is the new family that was the more important one that was coming in. Bilga, there was a family by the name of Bilga. They always divided on the south. The Tavata Kavua, and there was a little ring that was used to hold the neck of the animal when they did the shchitas. The animal couldn't move. That was always locked. There was also an area where they would get their kalim, their things. There was like a window, like a booth by the storage areas. That window was shut as well. It was locked. So they had to always use everyone else's.
Did all their activities start the Shabbos?
So, with this in English,
Yeah,
probably.
I'm just thinking of the complications.
Shechting.
Yeah, what they bring, did they all bring their own knives?
And they probably had their knives in the room that was there for them.
They set up before Shabbos.
Yeah. No, they had a storage area where they would keep their clothing and knives and everything.
Do we know what this Bilga did wrong?
Yeah, we're gonna see later. Yeah, we'll leave it for the scene this evening. Can't wait. Maimel for now, Maimel achra. What does it mean when it says the Shabbos was before, the Shabbos was after? If it just means that before it was the Lefaneha, before the Shabbos was it was Yom Tov. That means Shabbos started on a Friday. I'm sorry, Yom Tov started on a Friday, so they came for Yom Tov and they stayed for Shabbos. And then what does it mean? Lachra is Yom Tov Achron. I know. Lachra is Yom Tov Achron. And then Yom Tov ends on a Sunday, so they were there for Shabbos. So where's the Shabbos? The Shabbos is in the middle of the holiday. That would be those two options. It says that's what you're telling me. I know Shabbos Shabbatei Chag. That's a regular Shabbos in the middle of the holiday, which you already told me that's divided. The way it was divided was it's anything in the middle of the holiday is divided amongst the families. Ella rather Lefnei Yom Tov Achron, Lachrei Yom Tov Rishon, exactly the opposite. Before the Shabbos ended on Yom Tov ended on a Friday. They're staying over on a regular weekday Shabbos, a regular Shabbos that's not a holiday. Okay, and La'achrea is Yom Tov Rishon, and Sunday is the first day of the holiday. So Shabbos was nothing, not nothing. It's just a regular Shabbos. It's not a holiday Shabbos. And nevertheless, they still get to divide the lechem apanim. My time keep the hanim akadmi hanim achi tikar rabbanim milsi kiechet denechla ba'adei adadi, because they were coming early for the holiday or staying late because of the holiday didn't allow you. You didn't have time in between the holiday and Shabbos that they should be able to eat together. Chal yom echad. Let's say there was one day in between. Okay. So then we said that there was 5 and 7. It says Hani Tarti Maya Vidatayo. According to Rabbi Yehuda, they would divide not just 10 and 2, but on a regular Shabbos it was divided. The Lechem Apanim was divided 5 and 7. Why is there this extra 2 going to really an extra 1 going to the new group? Rabbi Yitzchak says, it's a payment for having to lock the gates on their own. See, in the morning, there were 2 groups there. So in the morning, the old group opened the gates in the morning, but they didn't close them. And then in the evening, it was only the closing of the gates was done by the new group. But the Gemara says, "V'neimele dal b'dal." Why don't they just say, "Look, this week you're going to close the gates on your own. But so what? That shouldn't give you extra bread, because when you came in, you opened it. Because when you came, when you're going to leave, the other group is going to close it on their own. So why don't you just exchange it all? You don't have to do this. Just it's in the end, it's all going to be equal. Amar Abaya says, Butsina Tava Mikra. Small cabbage is better than a big cabbage
For sure.
that hasn't come yet in potential.
I'm the only one that doesn't know what he's talking about.
What he means is, well, there's two interpretations here, but one of them is, I'd rather have what I can definitely get right now and the potential for what I can get if I leave it to grow. I don't know what it's going to come. Yeah, maybe it's going to come. Yeah, bird in the hand. Bird in the hand is better than two in the bush. Right? So this is his comment. He says, I'd rather get the extra ones now rather than to divide it and it'll equal itself out later.
Now
Just
they
give
get
it to me now.
Now they get it on Shabbos.
Now you get it today, right?
Instead of waiting for
Right.
a whole week.
Right. Amar Rav Yehuda Musaf and Chalkin. Rav Yehuda, this is not Rav Yehuda from the Mishnah, this is Rav Yehuda from the Gemara. He says that the Musaf was divided. Carbon Musaf was divided. Now, the Musaf was really an Oila, so what they're talking about is they're dividing the skin. The two groups would divide the skin, the hide of the animal, and they could make leather or whatever. Meisvei, the Gemara has a question, Mishmara Yaitse, Tamich al Shachar, Musafin. That the morning group did the group that was leaving did the Tamid Shel Shachar and the Musaf. Mishmar Nechneses Tamid Shel Bein Arbayim U'Bazichen. And the group that was coming in did the afternoon Tamid and also the spoons that had the frankincense in it. Bila Musaf and Chalkan like Tani, but it doesn't say that they divide the Musaf. What's Rav Yehuda talking about? They divide it. The Gemara says Hai Tana B'Chalukah like Kamari. They weren't talking about dividing. We're just talking about who did the service, not who divides the hide. Okay, fine. Amar Rava. Rava says, 1 second. But Tana de Bishmol, the Mari B'Chalukah, Musaf and Chalkan, like Tani. But there's a Tana de Bishmol, a Brisa from the Yeshiva of Shmuel, that does discuss the divisions, and it doesn't say that it's divided. And that's going to be a problem. The Tana de Bishmol, because it was taught in the Yeshiva of Shmuel, Mishmara, you'd say, the group that was leaving, I said, Tamid Shel Shachar Musafin, does the morning sacrifice and the Musaf. Mishmar Nechneses, the group that's coming in, the new family, I said Tamid Shel Bein Arbayim U'Bazichen. They do the afternoon sacrifice and the two spoons of frankincense. There were 4 kain that would come in. Shnaim Mishmazu, 2 from this group and 2 from that group. V'cholkim lechem apanim, and they would divide lechem apanim. How would they divide it? I guess 5 and 7, or 6 and 6. Vilu musaf and cholkin like Tani, but it doesn't say that they divided the hide of the carbon musaf. So you have to do Rav Yehuda. It's a strong question, Rav Yehuda. Rav Yehuda says they divided it. We have a brisa that discusses the division, and that's not part of it. Hanichnasim cholkin betzafin. Those that came in would get the lechem apanim on the north. Tanar Rabbanan, started in the brisa. Nechnasim cholkin betzafin. Those that would come in would get their portion on the north. Kadesh Yerushalayim nechnasim. Everyone should notice that this is the new group. Yotzim cholkin bedarim. Those that would leave would divide on the south. Kadesh Yerushalayim Yotzim, so that it should be obvious that that was the family that was leaving. You will leave the last piece of Gemara with the story for the Siyam this evening.
Who's giving it?
After Myra.
No, it can't be. You sent out the photo.
I know the CM is there.
Okay.